Goal is probably about an hour to talk. Since we are a small group, I would encourage everyone to put your questions in the chat. I'm watching it. I have a third monitor because I have given this talk. I've been refining it for last 4 days, very actively making changes. Today, I spent a lot of time last weekend also. So uh, my goal is not to finish what I prepared. My goal is to for you to learn something, right? So we can digress, we can diverse, whatever you call it. So just put it there. I have a couple of slides with definitions because I really do not know what level everybody is into their AI journey with database, particularly. So if we can skip those slides when it comes to, just let me know, put in the chat or unmute, say we can skip those and get to the meat, right? I just put those because if someone is pretty new and we use some terms, they might get lost, right? So and I know this question will come, can we get this material, right? So all my code and everything will be, you'll already see a set in my GitHub repo, but it's not refreshed. You'll see the difference if you download it now and do it in after 2 days. I'll upload everything there. I can send a note to Eric, and then Eric or Thomas can share to the to the all the members, and feel free download, use it, present it. If you have any feedback, send it to me. And I can take feedbacks. And I'm married over 25 years. I have 3 children. One is sitting right here doing homework. So yeah, you don't need to sugarcoat. Just give me raw feedback. I'll not cry. Um, yeah. So NK said, I'm sorry if I butcher your name. As noise skipping, please. I'm new. Yeah. So I'll go through those. I'll try to get through the slides quickly and show you more stuff in action. I think most people probably learn a little bit better that way instead of just reading from slides. And some slides, I'll just it be there. I'm not going to read the whole slide. It doesn't do any good because you can download and read by yourself later on. But I put it there to give you a full context. Um, I'm not here going to talk about my certifications. I know you see those, but my contact on the left side, I do monitor all 4 of those, and I do monitor actively. So after this, if you want to, something we went quickly, you didn't understand, you have a question, you play with my demo slide code, you get stuck, you get a message, send a note to me. You'll definitely get an answer, I guarantee you. And I'll show my contacts again towards the end. But if you just remember the word SQL worldwide, I'm sure you'll find me in many places. So what are we going to discuss? I'll talk very briefly about Gen I evolution. I'm not a historian or anybody, but I did a lot of studies just for my own sake, um, um, because I was not playing with it, when I was a kid, definitely not. But in recent years, I'm sure all of us we are hearing this, right? The Copilot word is without that you can't even talk to anybody in Microsoft nowadays without Copilot. So I thought,
Okay.
just give you some timeline how this thing evolved. I talked about some key terms, so I'm going to just show a couple of definitions. But I think the meat of this talk is why do we need to know this with our SQL database, right? We've been using it. Some of you have been probably using it from 6.5. We've been writing. Searching data, giving the result set. So, what's the big deal now with this AI thing, right? Why do we have to mash these two things together? What problem we are trying to solve, right? If we don't know what problem we are trying to solve or what is going to do for us, then the talk is not going to make sense. So I'll try to make few points. Um, and I crossed one line because when I presented this last time, I demoed this, and now I cannot. Um, if and when I go to the portal, I'll show you in the portal, Azure portal, there's something called Query Editor, which is in preview and is been in preview for a long time. So I don't know, I don't have any inside knowledge, but there was this different copilot that was only trained for SQL Server database or SQL database, and you could use it to ask some natural language question, and it will convert it to text to natural language to query, SQL query. And when I was preparing for this talk, I could not see it. I'm like, what happened? And I went to see my own recording on YouTube, and I'm sure it was there. And I was looking at my own demo. So I reached out to Bob Ward, Erin Staltos. I found out I actually posted a thing in the LinkedIn this morning. They're going to they move this to SSMS 21. But problem is SSMS 21 is in public preview, but the Copilot in SSMS is in private preview. So if you haven't signed up, you can't use it. And I haven't applied for it. I missed it, and now it's closed. So she said, if it's open, I'll get your name and so I can show that. But I'll talk about it. So when it's available in public preview in SSMS 21, you can take my prompts and try that. Otherwise, I'm going to show the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things that's listed here. So we'll try to spend more time into the demo. And some of these slides, most of the slides in this deck is not created by me from scratch. And if I haven't created it, you will definitely see a URL on the slide. Means I copied it. And these are allowed to copy under their license. So, and Microsoft, especially Bob Ward, is actually encouraging all of us to, those who present or speak to, take those slides, take the material and try to get the word out and help out people. So this just gives again another timeline. I'm not going to read through this. You can Google this, you can find out. um, this journey actually started in 1950s, right? In 1950, Alan Turing, I'm sure you all heard about like Turing machine. The whole purpose was to see if a machine can work like a human brain, and they used to compete, right, with humans and all that. So this is something not new. And then IBM in late 50s started with the term like real like machine learning. And I think the term came from Arthur Samuel in IBM, to be exact. Yeah, I think in 1959. Yes. And then later, probably after 2000, um, the deep learning concept came, and Geoffrey Hinton, he's very famous from University of Toronto. He started talking about the term like deep learning, artificial intelligence and machine learning, all this like putting it together. And then of course post COVID 2021 generative AI, we all know big splash all over the world, like in every aspect of our life probably nowadays. So, and then I found this. I'm not absolutely not going to talk about it. This is a LinkedIn post I bumped into. And if you go to this URL, actually spend about just 10 minutes, gave a very nice summary year by year, like what changed and how do we end up today where we are in 2024, 2025. I liked it a lot. So like I said, I'm not going to read all this, but you have this URL. I think this writer did an excellent job of summarizing it, right? Unless you want to like read a whole, for a few days, you can just probably read this in 15 minutes. It's pretty nice. So I'm going to just use some of the definitions, like like someone said, they're new, so you are not lost in the in during the talk. Prompt is, it's like, what's your name, right? I'm asking a question, right? In our daily life, right? We meet someone new, nice to meet you, what's your name, where you work, like we normally ask in the conference, right? Which state you came from. So these are all prompts. But if you want like a formal definition, when you download the slide, you will get this. I'm not going to read this. This is more into what input we give to our model to get a response, and that's called a prompt. Now, this is not exhaustive list actually, the different type of prompts, and this is going to be ever expanding. I don't know where it's going to end, right? If I have to list all the prompt type nowadays, if you search and you'll find out, I think it's definitely 10 plus. But I read all those, and then I find out that these are, some of these are probably we use even now if you just go to like just chatgpt.com or other some of the models that you are using. And zero shot is kind of like, uh, give me a recipe for chocolate chip cookies. That's it, and I'm not asking anything else, right? Just like very blank, right? Very open and all that. Um, and then few short, like I can give it some idea, right? Like give me a chocolate chip cookie recipe, and I can give an example, right? This is an example, and like I'm trying to steer it to a little bit. And chain of thoughts is like, I get answer, and then I can, ask a further another question. Some of this, but I think for us is the most interesting is the last one, retrieval augmented generation. I'll talk about it a little bit more, and we're going to see this in demo. There's another term you're going to hear, token. And I know a lot of time the question will come, even though I'm not going to talk about it today, about pricing, right? What is the cost of all this? And a lot of the cost is driven by the number of token. How many tokens you are submitting, how many tokens you're going to get back. There are some limitations in different model. There are some limitations in different pricing model, right? As you were seeing, like a lot of talk nowadays, different pricing models, companies are trying to bump it up. The OpenAI, they've been losing money month after month, right? Even like Microsoft was talking about their GitHub Copilot model, that some of the heavy hitters, the monthly subscription is really not covering at all, what Microsoft is spending behind the scene for all the compute and the machines and all that. So whenever you give a prompt, it get sliced into token, and then it says, okay, you have this many tokens you submitted, and this many you can get back. So that's kind of in a simple English. Now you will hear this term a lot called grounding your prompt. And in our database world, this is also important. This is what exactly this is one of the main reason that why, um, we've been doing like, SQL Server search with like statement, with full text search for years and decades. Now, why do we need this? Because now someone give a prompt and we can ground it with more information from our database. So, there is a like official uh, definition of it, right? Additional context, and you'll see it over and over, even during the demo and my presentation. I mentioned this a little bit, just like 2 slides ago. This is a kind of prompt. So what's a RAG, right? If you want, the official definition is, of course, is here: retrieval, augment, and generation. So you give me a prompt, and then I can go to different sources to get more relevant documents or more relevant information. And after I retrieve that, I can augment the prompt with that additional context, and then it's going to generate the final response and give it back to you. So yeah, I have a definition here, like I'm not going to read that. Each of these ones, I added a definition here. Vector. So I don't know if all of you are keeping an eye on the new announcements from Microsoft. So now we have a native data type called vector in Azure SQL Database. It's like any other data type that we have, right? In float, whatever, whatnot. So what does this mean, right? What's a vector? It's a ordered arrays of numbers and typically floats. I haven't seen anything other than floats so far, but maybe there's possibility. That's why they use the term typically floats. So um, probably, there are other kind of numbers can show up in that. And we'll see this in action. The other thing you will hear is embedding. So embedding is, again, is a one way of creating vectors, right? So you transform everything, data, word, image, everything becomes vector for the model to use. Once you convert your information to a vector, and then the model can find, how close these are, what's the relationship, is apple and banana is closer than, apple and a sheep, right? They all will be using vector, and they're going to use some formulas to find the similarity or how distant or how close they are. And there are different embedding technologies also there. There are, there's like one is called like a word to VEC, like these are like word embeddings. There's one called like Glove. There's a one called like fast text. For image, there is one called like a CNN, like I can pronounce it like convolutional neural networks, and there is one called like sentence BART for sentence embedding. So there's all different kind of models that are coming out just to do this job. So this is the question that I think is the most important for us right now. So you're past the definition. So why generative AI and our data? Why these two things needs to come together? Um, I think it's summarized with this line called, get smarter with your data, right? But how? And it says, this image is created by Microsoft Copilot, of course. But to talk about some of these, right? What we've been doing before and what we're trying to get to. I think the precise, tailored, and faster, it was always there, right? As a database professional, right? We always try to make sure, you know, as fast as we can with indexing and many other things that we do, right? Give the result set. Tailored for organization, yes. Precise, of course. We always try to make sure that the result sets are good. That's why we do Q&A, check, and all that. But the other two is intelligent and interactive, because database is never understood the context, right? It's always like what you're asking for is just going to give you exactly that. You could not put a context to your question. What you can do now, which you'll see more during the demo. And interactive means our natural language, right? People have to know some language to ask question against a database. They couldn't use their natural language. So I think these two are the biggest drive to combine AI with our structured data or unstructured data, but we'll mostly talk about SQL Server, Azure SQL tonight. So let's look at an example. I talked about grounding the prompt. So this is not doing anything. I'm asking a question to the model. I'm getting a response. Simple. I'm not doing anything more. But then we talked about RAG. We put this in the middle, and then we connect this with other data sources. And it can be anything, right? As long as you can connect it. It can be a database too. Some extra files, whatever. Now, when you give this prompt, it is going to come here and get additional context, send it back, and you get a better response now, right? So this is where our database is sitting in this example. And additional context to a trained model. Let's see another one. We have this vector and embeddings. It might not make sense to you now once I show you the demo. Oh, Eric asked a question, what's the difference between vector and token? So vector is I'm converting a piece of data. It can be a word, sentence, image, anything. I'm converting it to a numerical values, a series of numerical values, which I'll show you. That's a vector. Token is, Eric, how are you? So it will take this, Eric, how are you? The 4 words, and it can be probably 4 tokens, or it might break a longer word into 2 and say this is a 6 token I'm using.
Okay.
So totally 2 different things. So
yeah.
Yeah. And Eric, if you did I answer that, or you want me to go back to the definitions?
No. You got it. Thank you.
Okay.
Understood.
Yeah. So here is my database and index, and this is my language model. And now I'm asking a question in natural language. As you can see these are both way. All these arrows, this is not a one way. So now it can go based on my natural language chat or my prompt, it can go into the database and get more context to my question, right? And then send those to the model, and then model can give me the answer. This is where we are combining our database with AI. And so before, people could not ask us in natural language, right? It's just any T-SQL, C Sharp, or whatever you use. Uh, so this is probably going to make it a little bit more clear for you, Eric. So as you can see, these are vectors, right? I gave a prompt. I took the dog for a walk. It is also going to, these are, I don't know how many tokens, right? Depending on how. So this can be, just for the sake of, an example, right? 7 tokens. And these are our vectors. Once it convert everything to vector, then, and I know this slide shows cosine, but cosine is not the only, the geometric function. There are other ways also to find similarity and distant and all that, right? So here, as you can see, like dog and cat, they're a little bit closer than than these two, but these two again, they're a little bit closer because they find all these values. Now, I mentioned that a few times, right? Search option too. So we have been doing search for ages, right? As I said, but we are mostly limited to keyword search, right? In database with our languages. And now with this model, I'm not going to read all the definitions. I have another slide. I try to make it a little bit more helpful to people understand the definition of different search. But the last one, we can now combine all three: keyword, semantic, and vector, with what I'm going to show you. And this is very, very powerful. I'm not going to read this slide. I put it here. So if someone really want to get into a little bit understanding what I'm talking about, this three search, why it's different, and what are the different, and even and there are costs also to it, plus speed and all that, um, and like synonyms, right? Keyword doesn't understand synonym. You have to use the exact word. But when you're doing semantic or vector search, it can understand synonyms. So it will look for similar words that you ask for, right? And try to even give you those as a result. But in T-SQL, if I ask for a word with a like statement, that those characters has to be there for me to get it as a result set. Again, right, while large language model over built-in SQL Server semantic search. So these are some of the advantages. Again, like I'm not going to read all this, but I think you know some of the key point is the natural language understanding and interactive and conversational. So like I can really talk to a database now, which I could not do before. So I think that's all my slides. You can download this, but don't do it now. Like I said, I'll send a note to the organizers because I want to refresh my um, GitHub repo. Uh, I know Azure Data Studio is going to get, I think it's not going to get any more update sometime in 2026. They are not building anything on top of it. I think it's going to go away at some point. So I'm converting. The one problem, I don't know if you guys know, all of you, in Visual Studio Code, there is not a SQL kernel, which you have a kernel in Azure Data Studio to run a SQL notebook, which you cannot in Visual Studio Code. So you can only run it in a Python kernel. But then in a Python, if you want to run T-SQL, there are some libraries, and then you have to put like dollar SQL. So I'm trying to convert all. I am not done yet. So I'll use some mixed technique today to do the demo. Eventually, probably in a couple of weeks, I'll convert everything, just use Visual Studio Code. If you want to read more, I know I want, these are some of the, like, probably I read all of this um, for this talk and for my own understanding, but there are some good articles here. And, David, or not David, they call him David. I mean, he's very, very active, always in LinkedIn. He has a bunch of videos, code samples, and all that. And if you go to the SQL AI workshop, you'll probably get most of the materials I'm showing you. SQL AI examples is another good one. Azure SQL DB vector search. These are all good links. So if you really want to, take your time, read, and do some practice by yourself, these links will help you. So I am going to stop, and I'm going to actually change my stop sharing for a minute. I want to switch to a different screen. So just give me a minute. Uh, okay, good. Um, okay, let me start from here. So I put here some prerequisites, right? Prereq plus for demo here. I've done all this because you don't want to sit here and see me doing this, but I'll show you in the portal what I have done. Hopefully all of you are familiar with portal. You can do stuff using GUI, just clicks here. But whatever I did here, you can also do it through PowerShell, CLI. There are many other ways, right? Templates, you can do it many different ways. Uh, so every time I work, you always want to create a resource group. That way, once you are done, if you don't want to waste your money, you can just go and say delete your resource group. So you do not have to delete stuff individually. It's just a logical container. I have a SQL server here, and I have a SQL database called test data, which I'm going to use today. And I also have a search service and the Azure OpenAI service. In search service, I'm going to show you a couple of things. You need to bring your data to the search service. If you want to use some of the models that I'm going to show you, or if you want to just stay within just Microsoft's ecosystem. But if you don't want to do this, you can actually use some of the Python libraries to directly go to your database. That's also possible. So I'll show you both ways. And the way to create these indexes is you first create a data source. And if I go there, as you can see, and maybe I can show this to you in the SSMS. So this is the server that I showed you. This is sitting in Azure. And the database that I said test data, right here. And these are some of the tables. So here I put that database name, port 433, sorry, server name, database name. My table is a customer. So this is a data source. Once I have a data source, from there, I can create an index. And this index is on a customer table. It has 847 documents. It takes, but look at this. This does not have any vectors. I have not created any vector on the data set or on a particular column from that table, right? This is a customer table. And if you go here, look at the other one. I have a table called Walmart products, right? This is open source. There are some websites you can get like a little bit of data set from these big companies for free. If you want the full data set, you have to pay big money. But I only have like, probably 1,000 record. And I actually put a link where I got this data set from, and it's free and available to download. And I put a name called vector here, right? So if you go here, see this? Now what it did on a column on this, so I said, I picked the description column. So it took the descriptions, each description, and created a vector on that. And you're going to use this vector. I'll show you as we go along. The other thing I want to show you is, and please ask me a question if you didn't understand. I can also create some on the fly if you want. I mean, it's just going to take us some time. But if most people are interested, I can do that too. You just have to tell me. And this is the Azure OpenAI service. I actually had it open, but I'm going to show you here. Here I have deployed two different models. The first one, all of you probably heard about GPT-4, right? Chat GPT, GPT-4. This one is not going to use any vector. But if I want to use the vector, I need this model also. That's why I have two different models. And I already deployed those. And as you can see, this is going to retire soon. So they're going to probably come up with some. There are probably already some. I haven't seen both of them will retire. So they will have some newer model because they're always refining and coming up with the newer ones. And we're going to use this to do some chat here, right, as I go. Any question on all the resources that I deployed here for the demo? Because if you cannot set this up, you will not be able to, run my stuff. If you have any question, please put in the chat. I'll try to explain you more. And I have documented all this. This is the Amazon sales data set. I haven't put the Walmart one. I actually have two data sets here. Maybe I should put it before I upload this. I'll try to find the source. I think initially I worked with this data set. It had some issues, but then I downloaded another one. Yeah, so and I put all this, like, what the model name is and what I deployed and all this. So as I said before, I cannot show you this. The Copilot feature has been moved to SMS version 21. So in Portal, if we go here, I can show you.
Teo, can I ask, when you're
Yes,
referring to an index, is this just like a standard vanilla index that we would think of as a SQL Server person, or is there some special meaning?
special meaning in terms of getting the data ready, to answer questions using the models. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'll show you the vector index, exactly how it looks like even within the database. Yeah. Question: what is the customer with the highest number of transaction? Oh, you want to ask that question to the chat or no?
Yeah, no, that would just be like a question, example of a question I would ask the chat.
Okay, let's see. Yeah, we'll try that when you get there. Yeah, I'll come back to this. So in the query editor preview, just about 2 weeks ago, you would see a button here called Copilot. And this has moved to SSMS, just so you know. Because I was like last time, like, where did this go? And so I'm going to skip this. Now, I do not know if all of you know this or if you don't know. So I'm not going to ask all this question, but I'll show you another thing. Even though that Copilot is gone, this is a generic Azure Copilot. And there's a blog post by Joe Sack. It can actually help you in a lot of things that we as database operations administrator, reliability engineer, whatever you call, that we deal with in our day-to-day function. And I will give you an example or a couple of examples. I'll probably not run all four. So have you found yourself in a situation that you want to know which table consumed most of the space, right? And they will say, oh, we turned on logging and we forgot. Thank you. We're going to turn off logging and can you truncate it? Or now, this is, yes, I can write T-SQL. I'm sure all of you can, but I'm just going to show you the power of natural language, right? And I even didn't tell it in this database. So it know that I'm asking this in context of this test data database. And what it did, it actually gave me a query, right?
Mhm.
How cool is that?
Nice.
I'm not saying, we have achieved, you know, I'm sure all of you can write this, but, this is, we didn't have this before. And so I'll take maybe I'll just take the last one, right? How about the last one? Because once I show you this, you can run the other one. I don't want to waste your time here.
Now the Copilot you're using here, that's the paid version, like people who are, yeah.
This one, I think currently you are not paying for it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Could you specify which IO metrics you're interested in your database, right? So now it is asking me a question. So if I say, so now if you remember, I showed you different kind of prompt. So now we are going like, okay, throughput metrics, your interest for your database. You're looking for read throughput, write throughput. So we can keep going. So it's pretty smart, right? It's trying to get you more, and then it's going to give you a query. So this is still there, and this is not for database. Any resource in your tenant, you can ask questions. You can say like, find me, I don't know, like all the empty resource groups, right? Without any resource, it will give you a list of empty resource groups. Give me Azure SQL databases that doesn't have private endpoint enabled or Defender enabled. It can give you all that. Okay, so now we're going to go and I think also ask that question. So now we're going to go here. We're going to use this model. We're going to add our data. And adding data here, there are many options. You remember in the Azure AI search, I showed you those two indexes that I created. I'm going to select from there. And we cannot do semantic search. You don't have the vector. We're going to use for the other one that I created. And I'll do all this through code also, just to show you. Before I put anything here, I want to show you just watch the quality of the answer. That's why it says like, you ground your prompt, like give it more context. So I'll leave this empty and you'll see the difference yourself, right? So let's pick this one. I'm saying what customer names work for the company, right? So you also have to know the data a little bit because I've been playing with it. I know how the table structure is. And he said the customer names that work for the companies, bikes and motorbikes are Johnny Caprio and Johnny Caprio. So he's probably found two records, right? So he repeated it and it gave us two reference also. And I'm going to get the last one. what customer uses the phone number. And it also gave me 2 references. So maybe there's 2 records. Now, and we can verify this. I also wrote some T-SQL for you if you want to verify. I know they are correct, but now let's give it some context, right? What is this chat agent? Who are you, right? And what I want you to do, right? So I just said, you are an AI assistant who helps company executive gain customer insight, right? And I said, whenever you respond, please format your answer to make it very readable, including bullet points. And now I'm asking, I'm going to ask the same question and see the quality of the answer. That's why giving a context or see now how, and look at the answer here and look at this answer, right? Just because I added this. So now I am going to ask that question.
Now this is the one not using vectors, right?
No, I'm not using any vector yet. It's
Yeah.
not found. So I think this customer table doesn't have transactions or yeah. So I can customer sales order detail. I don't know if there's a customer column. There should be some, probably there are some tables, but we haven't created index on those. So that's why we just have index on this. And I think this table doesn't have any. Oh, what? That's weird. Okay. Oh, that's why you don't use the preview version, right? During demo, I got a feel like what's going on now. Yeah, this one doesn't have, right? So that's why it did not, give us that answer. Okay. Any questions so far before I move a little bit to advanced ones? I'll try to go a little bit faster, but because you're getting 10:23, I mean, yours is 7:23. If no question, I'll move forward. So
Yeah.
I don't know, anybody finding this helpful or you think?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so far.
Okay, so
Yeah,
now we're
this
going
is
to,
very, very helpful.
thank you. Now I'm going to use the other index, right? If you remember the Walmart one that we said it has vectors, right? And even without coming here, if you go to the search service, okay, and this index, you can even do it here, right? You can search for, I have some examples here, right? Curtain. I'm just looking for curtain. It's giving me all the records that has curtain and stuff. Now look at here one thing. It has a search score. It has a rank score, re-ranker. And see what I was telling you, the vector? So it took the description of this record and created a vector out of it. And that is what it's using to give me the result that I'm asking for. And if I don't want to see the vector, I can always, hide it if you want to. And now if you search, you're not going to see the vectors anymore. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I can also do it actually takes our input. It actually create a JSON and it does this, right? So I can take this out And I can put my own. I'm just now saying, give me sandal, but upscale, right? And it gave me some Starbeomas floral print wedge flip-flop with cotton thong. And I can see if you turn on the vectors, it will give you actually, all the, why, it gave you this. So you can see the search score. Look at that. It's all using that vector numbers to give me this result set. And now what we're going to do here, we're going to use the other data set. So let's remove this. Let's add the data set that has the vector. If you remember, we had two. This one has vector. Let's use this. Now we can say add vector search to this search resource. And that is why we need the other model that I deployed for the vector search. Because the normal GPT-4 cannot work on vector numbers or vectors. So now look at this. We're going to use vector, keyword, semantic, all three together. What I showed you in my slide. Okay, so it's ready for us. And I am going to give it a I'm going to not wait for this. I'm just going to give it a context. So I don't want to. I don't want to show you with or without. You already got the idea. So let's not apply changes. And okay, so I did all this, and now I'm going to ask some questions. Look at this. So, we will never be able to put this in a T-SQL, right? I'm on a tight budget, but I need expensive furniture options that are easy to install and make my living room more appealing, right? Let's see. And trust me, if you take this out, right, you'll see a totally different, like a very short answer. And I mean, you can try that out by yourself. And I'm just going to, yeah. So I'll show you some of this from coding. So any questions so far? Oh, what is the advantage of using a model that can do vector search? Is it faster, more precise, both? It is faster, more precise, and it's more context. Because a keyword search does not understand the context that I'm giving, like, and I'm on a tight budget and all that, right? Because in the description column, there is no word called budget. There is no word called tight budget. So it doesn't understand the context. The advantage here is that I can give a context to it when I'm doing a vector
Okay, I
search.
see.
Yeah.
So
Over there, I could say,
Thank you so much.
yeah, no worries. Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome. I can say, give me all the dressers, right? And order by price or something. But it doesn't get the other context.
So, Taya, is this thing generating T-SQL on the back end, or is it doing something entirely different?
I think entirely different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not that deep, how the models do behind the scene. Probably not T-SQL.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. I think some of the links that I sent you probably might, but this is a good question. I should know. Maybe I'm going to do some reading. I'm going to just take a note
I was
behind the
curious
scene.
that there was a button you
No, no,
could hit that would say, "Oh, here's the actual query it ran."
oh, no, that's a good. I was exactly thinking about it to get extended event trace going on behind the scene.
Yeah.
Out of I was thinking exactly that's what you said, right? So yeah, okay. Okay, so Rahul said, I believe it's in JSON. I mean, we saw on the portal, right? It creates a JSON, and then, but I think probably Thomas's question is what it's exactly running against the database, right? I know the search get into formed into JSON. Uh, so now we have done all this in the portal, right? With the GUI. But if you're writing an application, you're not going to do it that way. So how can I do it through T-SQL, right?
Hmm.
How can I do it through T-SQL? And like I said, I need to convert this. I'm almost halfway. I actually can show you. Maybe I should just show you instead of just talking about it. Sorry. I'm almost like this file that I'm showing you. I'm almost about to convert it to a Python notebook. So I need to load this, run everything like this, and it has some nuisance. If you work with Jupyter Notebook and T-SQL, like if you cannot use like the colon that we use as a best practice, right? You can use colon here and all that. So I'm almost there. I just didn't get enough time, to be honest with you, with my full-time job and children and all that. But so I'm still kept it in that format. So let's take this. Now we're just going to use like just raw T-SQL that we are used to and do the same thing. Now I'm creating a function called create embedding, and you say I'm giving it where my model is, right? And this URL, if I go to my deployments, this is the URL you copy, and this is the API key you copy. And you put those here. We still need the model to be deployed to do the work. And this is a store procedure to call it a standpoint. And I'm creating a function. If anyone get lost, please stop me there. I'm not going to run this. This is what I did is when I downloaded the data from the website, there was some stuff. So my colleague, he's in London. He just wrote a small function because we are also doing some work at work, like how to clean up this data, right? So it's not important, right? So we put it in a new table and all that. But this is the fun part. So I'm going to please stop me if you're not following it. But I also want to be mindful of time. So now I'm just dropping this table, and then I'm going to load this into a table, into this vector table, and I'm not doing anything here right now. So if we go here, refresh it, it's just a copy of that table. So if we go to the vector table, what is that's why you shouldn't be using preview anyway. There's nothing different. I'm adding a column. Look at this now called description vector. So just keep an eye on this and look at the data type. It's a native data type now in Azure SQL called vector. And you remember I created this function. I'm calling this function. I know I'm doing it in a while, row by row, probably for large data set, we probably want to do it different way, right? I just want to make sure that people can see what I'm doing here. And what I'm doing here, updating that vector table and setting the description vector column, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so let's go. And I kept it a small data set just so we're not sitting here. And still I get few records after even the cleanup. So I probably have to do a little bit more cleanup. So there are a couple of records get, doesn't work. And now you will see a new column, description vector. So let's run this. What this is annoying. I don't know. I'm sorry. I haven't seen this. Look at.
Huh.
This is what he's going to use. And this is exactly also was in the portal when you saw that. You remember, like the vector was taking space, was all these numbers. Now we created vector. How do we use it? I'm declaring a search. I'm saying, help me plan a high school graduation party. That's all I want to know. So it gave me pet, girl dress, shoe, party, sparkle, back school shoes, cars, 4th of July, omens, whatever, like, Heath King, I don't know, tea, I need 60 count of tea. And it gave a description, and it also gave why did it pick these items.
So before you were using the Azure Search Service to give you the vector information. Now you're putting that data is directly in the database.
This is the advantage. So now your raw data and your vector is in the same place. And the beauty of this, which I'll show you, I think you kind of got my, okay, I think I should have do it other. Anyway, yeah, I'm not worried about that. Now, the advantage of this, Eric, to answer your question.
Yeah.
How about you? I want the products, okay, for my party, but I want another condition. The price should be this range, or I want to return it in 30 days. Those are not in the vector, right? Because the vector is only the description, but it can look up those from the other columns, right? So I can join it. So now here I'm saying, I also want a free 30-day return. Only show me those products. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So I can do a combined search on whatever I want.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to wrap this up. So
Okay.
This is another piece of code. I copied from here. You have the URL. I didn't write it. I modified it a little bit. As I said, edited, right? This is probably end-to-end setting up everything. Your assistant with, with some grounding, right? It gives it some examples, the token, temperature. You can control many of these that you can control in the portal through the GUI. You don't have to do that. So you can do all this, and then you can invoke your LLM. You still need the model, right? And if you don't want the off-the-shelf model, you can train your own model with your company data or whatever. And then you can do the same thing here, right? The whole thing. I have another file. This is absolutely Python code, right? And here I do not need to create indexes. So I have run all this, and I put enough, a description. So I've run all this for all of you. I created, you can call this, and I said, ask SQL and ask SQL verbose. I created 2 functions, and then we're going to use this. So I'm just going to show you one of each, and then we'll call it a day. So. And I'm looking at the Walmart products table. Oh, name ask SQL. Okay, so it kind of lost my. I probably have to run this again. I probably restarted or did something when I ran it. Let me give me a minute. If anyone has any question, I'm going to wrap up in definitely in 5 minutes. So if you have any questions, please put in the chat. I'm just going to do some magic on the side because I have a password here that I did not want to share. So I'm just going to run something and then bring it back. Hopefully it was somehow useful for all of you and, generate some curiosity to.
Very eye-opening.
Very, very useful.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're bringing ChatGPT to the database.
Yeah. So I ran this again. Hopefully I was not expecting that error that we saw. So I'm just going to try it one more time. If it doesn't work, it's okay. Yeah, it's there. See? So this is using Python, still using a model, but not using the index that we created, directly going against the database. And if you want to know how did this, so someone asked, like, I think, yeah, someone asked, what's happening? How does they create this? So it will actually give you kind of like execution plan. Kind of, not really. It tells you how did it go. So it actually wrote all this.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yeah.
There's that
So it wrote,
SQL.
it wrote all this. And this is all the work it had to do to give me the result set.
Wow.
Or different options it considered. Yeah, so I'll upload all this and then I think that's pretty much. So I'll just show you my contact again, in case note it down. And I promise you, actually, I'm not here this weekend. I'm going for by next Monday. I'll send a note to the organizers when everything is uploaded in my GitHub, and then so all of you can download, take it, do whatever you want. Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you. Spending the evening with me. I appreciate that again. Yep.
Thank you.
Are you doing the Boston Marathon, Ty?
I'm not. I don't qualify. I'm doing a half marathon in Rhode Island, and I'm dragging my children and wife. They will all do 5K. I'll do a half marathon. So I went to the finish line today, actually, from work, just to, they're painting the finish line.
Oh yeah,
We worked there in the lunch hour just to see it. Yeah. Yeah.
I've been to it many times.
Well, back on the floor. Does anybody have any last minute questions for Mr. Ali? Or Tayo, I should say.
Okay. Thank you again. I truly appreciate. Please send me your questions, comments. If you download something doesn't work, maybe I'll learn something from your question. But I truly appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Tayo, it was our pleasure. Thank you again for hosting tonight and providing all that information. ChatGPT says, "Awesome job, AI. Good job."
Thank you.
Have a great evening. You
Okay,
guys all
bye.
stay safe and healthy.